Let me wait to see if it's streaming or not. I think I'm gonna start by doing the Italian thing this time. And then I'm gonna work on the next video and I'm gonna learn how to edit. Not sure how much time I'm gonna put into editing, but I know for sure that I need to cut some things on the third one, and I might have to redo it because I think I'm gonna add something that says I think I did the translation between binary and decimal in the wrong way, so I'm gonna have to add something that explains that just for demonstration purposes. So that's probably something that I'm gonna do now. And then cut some stuff, which is easy. But then I'm not sure. The thing is, I would like to know. That's the thing that's difficult in the beginning, is because when I'm thinking about creating the videos, I have animations in my mind, but I'm not sure how the process looks like for someone that creates videos like this. Yeah, do you think about how to create a video? Do you create the video first and then think about the animations? Or do you create the video thinking about the animations that you're gonna put? And because I'm not really sure how to go about this, it's kind of hard because then I'm thinking about it as I'm talking about stuff, I'm thinking about it in one way, and then later I'm thinking about it in a different way. So because I don't know how to edit and what I can do with the editing, it becomes more difficult to do the video because then I don't know what I'm gonna be able to put later. So that's the thing that I'm kind of confused now, and that I don't know what I'm gonna do. So this is what I'm gonna try to clarify, I think. But the problem is that it might be too difficult to do it, or spend too much time learning how to edit, to add things, and then there might be diminishing returns. But I think it's probably worth it to spend some time. So I'm gonna make the bet that is probably worth it to spend at least some time trying to figure out how to put animations and put other stuff in the video, and then maybe next video think about it, what kind of animations I wanna put before I film the video. So as I film it, I'm aware of how it's gonna look like. That makes sense. But I think that's something that will come with time as well, and experience.
Fa.
Does.
Fisso.
Oh, I forgot to change this thing here.
Fa.
Fa.
Does.
Fisso.
Fisso.
Set. Unchanging.
3.
3.
3.
Desiderare.
Desiderare.
Desire.
Aria.
Aria.
Air.
Bene.
Bene.
Well.
Anche.
Anche.
Also.
Giocare.
Giocare.
Play.
Piccolo.
Piccolo.
Small.
Fine.
Fine.
End.
Mettere.
Mettere.
Put.
Casa.
Casa.
Home.
Leggere.
Leggere.
Read.
Mano.
Mano.
Hand.
Portare.
Portare.
Carry.
Grande.
Grande.
Large.
Compitare.
Compitare.
Spell. Words.
Aggiungere.
Aggiungere.
Add.
Anche.
Anche.
Even. Also.
Terra.
Terra.
Land.
Qui.
Qui.
Here.
Devo.
Devo.
I must.
Grande.
Grande.
Big.
Alto.
Alto.
High. Tall.
Tale.
Tale.
Such.
Seguire.
Seguire.
Follow.
Atto.
Atto.
enact,
Perché?
Perché?
why,
Chiedere.
Chiedere.
ask,
Maschi.
Maschi.
men,
Cambiamento.
Cambiamento.
a change,
È andato.
È andato.
he, she went,
Luce.
Luce.
light,
Tipo.
Tipo.
kind, of thing,
Spento.
Spento.
turned off,
Bisogno.
Bisogno.
need,
Casa.
Casa.
house,
Immagine.
Immagine.
image,
Provare.
Provare.
try,
Noi.
Noi.
us,
Di nuovo.
Di nuovo.
again,
Animale.
Animale.
animal,
Punto.
Punto.
point,
Madre.
Madre.
mother,
Mondo.
Mondo.
world,
Vicino.
Vicino.
near,
Costruire.
Costruire.
build,
Se stesso.
Se stesso.
himself,
Terra.
Terra.
earth,
Padre.
Padre.
father,
Think I would structure the video first. I thought about something that's gonna be really good to explain, and that I haven't thought about it before. Erase this stuff from here. I'm pretty much gonna do a screen like this, and then I'm gonna put numbers. Oh, maybe I should search for this, but I don't know how to search. Image represented with 0 ones. So my idea is to do something like this, where I draw a picture using zeros and ones inside of a square. Hopefully, if I could get an image like this, would be better, so I don't have to spend time creating this stuff myself. It's quite tedious. Maybe there's a better software as well to create this, or maybe I can create it on the Excel. And maybe Excel is going to be a lot easier to do this. And it was something like this, where there's a square and then there's a bunch of zeros and ones, and then I draw a picture with the ones, the boundaries of the picture, and then I explain that the data structure is pretty much like this. That you're actually physically creating something with zeros and ones. Then obviously it's more complex, but I'm just using that as an analogy to make it easier to understand the link between a concept and what's happening in the computer, which is you're structuring sequences of zeros and ones with logic gates. And that represents something that is a concept, and then through that concept we can think about the logic that we are building. I don't think I'm gonna find pictures like that. It's kind of hard to search for, so I think I will use this thing here. Maybe if I make this smaller. Alright. And the thing is, I don't know if it's gonna be feasible. That's the problem. I should maybe it's probably better to just do it on the cells that I want to represent what I'm talking about, so that is more visible. Yeah, but this is gonna take a long time. Obviously, I have to format this. How can I do this? I remember seeing things like this all the time in the internet, but not sure. Maybe there's an easier way to do it. I have to make this taller. Oh, I should have done. Let them do this again. Should put 0 instead of 1. Because I'm gonna draw the ones. Nice. So the question is, what should I draw to make it easier to understand? I was thinking about the tree, because the tree is actually a data structure, but that might be confusing because in the computer is not exactly the same thing, I think. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but I think it's not the same thing as actually drawing a tree with zeros and ones. It's just that the logic is abstracted in a way. So obviously you have multiple different parts on the computer, and all these parts are transmitting sequences of zeros and ones to each other, and the logic is done through logic gates. And then with this whole logic, we encapsulate that into a word that we call a data structure. But I'm not exactly sure if there's an equivalence of the actual structure being a tree or not. I don't think that's how it works. I think there's layers of abstraction that we simplify as human beings in order to denote that as a tree, but is not actually representing the structure of a tree. Yeah, that makes more sense to me, because if it was actually the structure of a tree, it would be far more complex. So the words are just links that we create in order to represent the state of zeros and ones that signify something for us, and then we can use this through with logic to do the calculations we want. So my concern is that if I do things like this, then people are gonna think that I'm meaning that the zeros and ones in the computer are exactly the same as whatever I draw here, but it's just an analogy. So maybe I should draw something else. And it has something that is visible to see. Oh, I can change the colors actually. That's gonna make it a lot easier. So I can draw one in red. So what can I draw? Maybe I should save this stuff here. So I can start from scratch in the beginning. if I mess it up. I'm just gonna do a square here. Yeah, it can't be something like this because I don't think it's visible enough to create a contrast. Maybe I do through here. Yeah, you can't really see. So maybe if I color them as well. It's still trash. And that's terrible too. So I guess I can change the color again. And then do this instead. It's a lot more visible. I think this is probably good enough. Maybe I'll think about another thing to draw. Yeah, I think ideally something more complex would be better because it highlights the point more. But not too complex that I spend a bunch of time drawing this stuff. What can I do? Maybe I'll draw something inside of this thing here. Yeah, I think I'll create a stair here. I should probably change the colors first and then change the numbers so it's easy to see. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to draw a person with the. I don't know how to say that. The sticks or whatever that's called. Like the very simple version of a person here. And that's terrible. It doesn't look like a person at all. Maybe if I... And the problem is it would have to be bigger to represent the head. I would have to make 4 cells here. Probably not a good idea. I think I'm gonna leave this one. Oh fuck. I just saved in the same one that I used to do the blanket one. Let me save another one like this, or save like other one. Sure. Drawing clean. Yeah, so this is gonna be the version that doesn't have anything. There we go. I'm gonna start with this one, and I think I'm gonna do a face. Like a smiley face. Not too complex, but it's easier to understand the point. I'm just gonna modify something here so I can save it in another file, so I don't overwrite this one like I did on the first one. So maybe I'll do more in the center here. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. There we go. And this is good enough. Fuck you. This is good enough. Okay. Yeah, that's good enough. So let me change to 1 and everything. Yeah, so I'm gonna use this to explain that the thing about concepts, and then I'm gonna talk about how this is not exactly true. I can do an arrow here. Press black here. And there we go. I think this is good enough. So I think I'm gonna start with this thing, and I must say that this is what is happening, is we're capturing states with zeros and ones, and then we are attaching concepts to these states. And that's what a data structure is. And then after I say that, then I'm gonna go through the Scali draw, and I'm gonna draw a stack and heap here. And then I'm gonna briefly explain what a stack and a heap is, using an analogy. Obviously, I'm not gonna go into the details, I'm just gonna talk about the simple stuff, the most basic thing. And this is the part that I'm thinking about using an elephant or a picture of an elephant. So I'm gonna have to see if I'm gonna be able to edit this stuff, because what I'm gonna talk about is that the stack is the thing that the computer uses when it's executing code. So it puts things on the stack and then removes things from the stack, and that's the order of execution of programs. And the stack is not too big, and then because of that you need the heap, and then I'm gonna use the elephant, I think. I'm gonna say that imagine you have an elephant and then you wanna put the elephant on the stack, but the stack is not big enough. Then you go to the zoo, which is just down there, and that's the heap. And then the zookeeper gives you an ID, should tell you where the elephant is whenever you need it. So you go back to the stack and you put the ID of the elephant. And that's why the heap is useful. So heap, there's a trade-off of space for less speed, and then stack is faster but less space. And the program is usually gonna be a combination of two, where most of the stuff is on the stack, and then every now and then you're going to the heap and getting stuff from the heap. And that's pretty much what programming is. You're sending instructions to the stack and then using the heap whenever is necessary. Hopefully I'm not missing anything here. I think I'm gonna make sure that I say that it's just a simplification. Damn, I wish I could make this bigger, but I don't think I can. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. Fuck. So maybe I'll have to make everything else smaller. Wonder if I can do this. No. Maybe I'll do this again. Should have started with the ladder first, but I forgot that the ladder is very small on this thing here. And I think I'm gonna try to explain stack, heap, and an array and object in the same thing, because I think those are the most fundamental ones. And then a tuple, I don't think I'm gonna explain too much. Maybe I'll study some stuff about tuples today, but it's pretty much the same thing. I think it's that important for people that are starting out to know the differences, the nuances. I think it's more important for them to understand how everything is connected together, because that allows you to think in a more efficient way. And then the nuances, you're gonna have to look it up anyway, because you're not gonna be able to remember everything. So that, at least that's what how I'm looking at it now, is that I'm trying to give the best that I can, the general sense, general picture of how everything is connected. and what is actually happening when you're typing stuff. And then explain the fundamentals and the differences between Python and JavaScript on the syntax. Taking into consideration all the fundamentals that I talked about. And then after that also I'm gonna show the differences in syntax, obviously, when it gets to the point where I'm gonna talk about loops and the methods of each thing, of each structure. But to understand this, the thing is, I'm thinking about when I'm gonna do a video that talks about libraries, because the thing is, I think I'm gonna have to use this again to talk about libraries because of the knowledge that I made here. Because I'm gonna use the same stuff that I draw here to say that libraries are the same thing. That they are the same as programming languages, let's say, in the sense of each one of them is like a structure that was built on top of the language. But the difference between different programming languages and libraries is that the libraries are built with the same constraints of the programming language. So I want to make sure that I explain it in this way as well, where I'm making this, but I don't think that is very clear. So I want to make the distinction that the difference between programming languages is pretty much what's happening with the compilers and programming languages of simplifying everything is the same thing that happens inside of the programming language. But the only difference is that when that happens inside of the programming language, you have a library because you're building code with the same structure of syntax. And when you change the structure of syntax, then you're changing the programming language. But if you're building code with the same structure, then you have a library. And I'll try to say that in the best way possible, I think. So maybe right after I do this, I explain the stacking heap. Then I go back, because the problem is I already made the video. I guess I can remake, but now I'm questioning whether or not it is the best to go to stacking heap right away. It might be better to just explain. But the difficult thing about libraries is that I think that's the way that I was thinking in the beginning, is that someone that is new, I think is too much information right away. I think it's better to explain first the fundamentals, then go into the main concepts of loops, functions, and that kind of stuff that's used most of the time. Then after that, talk about the syntax, then go full circle and go back to this thing here, and then explain the libraries. Because the most challenging part of learning any programming language, I think, is not the language itself, is understanding the libraries. What are the fundamental libraries and how do they work? So maybe on the next one I explain stacks and heaps, and then the object and arrays, and then I glance over tuples. And then from that, on the next one I explain the operator, equality operator. And then from that, I'm gonna make a simple thing here that has all the main fundamental concepts, which I think I'll have to think about it because I'm not sure if I'm forgetting any. But it's just loops, functions, and what else? Loops, functions, classes, and I think that's pretty much it. The other ones I talked about on the jar objects and lists, and then everything else is built on top of that. And then obviously you have references and tuples and things like that. No, not tuples, references, function arguments, and types, enums, and that kind of stuff. But this kind of stuff, well, first you don't have in Python really types and enums or JavaScript, but they are variations of the fundamental things, I think. So as I explain each one of the main fundamental categories, then I can explain the fundamentals inside of them, like a game tree. You'll be right back. Okay, let's draw the hip. I didn't know I can do that. Also, I can use shortcuts. Oh, there's curved line as well. Oh. And so how do I stop this? I'll just ask. Interesting. But this is the thing that I was talking about in the beginning that is difficult because I don't know what I can do with the animations. Because now I was talking about putting in an elephant here, so it's gonna be... Because how I'm gonna talk about this if I can't picture what is gonna be going on. Or maybe I'll just talk about it and then I think about it later. Then I see if I can put the elephants. But there's two alternatives actually. One is to write down the word elephant and then talk about it. The other one is later I'll put in the animation the picture of an elephant and put it inside here. I think I'll try to do the animation stuff. Maybe I'll record both versions and then, yeah. I'll try the animation first. If it doesn't work, I'll do the other one. I think that's good enough. So now I have to represent, because I haven't talked about anything related to code. I just have to represent the concepts. Here I don't think I'm gonna do animations, I think I'm gonna just drag this stuff into the stack. So I'm gonna explain this where puts the stuff here, then here, and here, here, and you go back. And then after I do this, I'll talk about the elephant. Do the animation that the elephant can fit on the stack, so I have to use the hip. And maybe it's gonna be too big if I think I'm just gonna do stacking hip in the next video, and then I'll talk about the other stuff, the object arrays and tuples in the next one. And then after that I'll talk about the main fundamental concepts. Because everything else I think is a combination of this. I'm concerned about making a bunch of videos, but I don't think there's anything I can do about it because it's just too much information. So I can't. Maybe there are ways to compress even more, but I just can't think about it now. I'm just trying to compress as much as I can, so that is as fast as possible for someone that doesn't know anything to learn everything. But I think that's good enough, probably, for next one. So now I should probably focus on editing the stuff that I did already. Hopefully I don't lose this stuff. Actually, I have to save here. Yeah, now let's see. I'm gonna have to watch videos as well on how to do this stuff. So in this first video, I'm gonna explain to you the place I'm coming from. I think the first two videos I'm not gonna edit. Maybe just cut something. But I think the third one is the one that I'm gonna start putting stuff. I'm a self-taught programmer. I've been learning for about 2 years, and I learned for the most part while doing live streams, and then I posted the live streams on this channel on YouTube. It's called VMS Code. And now let me explain to you what people usually do and what I'm planning to do instead. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to do this in a way that I want to teach in a way that I wish I had it when I was starting out, after learning everything that I learned. So what people usually do is they type it out, and then they talk about some concept as they type, and then they explain the concept. And what I'm thinking about doing instead is teaching the fundamental principles and then the difference in syntaxes. And that's the reason why I'm going to teach Python and JavaScript at the same time, because I want to highlight the fundamental principle and then how that fundamental principle differentiates in two different programming languages through the syntax. And the reason why I think this is important is because when you're starting out, the most difficult thing to understand is what the computer actually, what keywords actually have a difference in meaning in the computer at the hardware level, and what is arbitrary that different programmers choose, and depends on the context of the situation. And I want to make sure that I emphasize this and allow you to understand what are the things as you're typing out the code that are actually going to make a difference in the computer and the way that everything works under the hood, and what is arbitrary and is constantly changing all the time. So yeah, see you on the next one. I think although there are some mistakes that are, it's probably not worth to edit. And the thing that I can't figure out or I can't decide is one, how do people do the animations that they do? What kind of things they search for? What do they use? It's kind of hard to, because it doesn't look like they use images or anything like that, or it doesn't look like they're drawing things. It's kind of like a mystery to me, or of how people do this kind of stuff. And the biggest issue is that I'm not sure if it's going to be worth it to spend time learning, because it's just like any other skill. You imagine there's going to be the first learning curve, and it's probably going to take a lot of time to learn that. So it might be better to just hire someone to do it. But yeah, maybe it is worth it to learn at least the fundamentals so I can do some kind of some things. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, so in this video, I want to briefly explain how things work. So programming is pretty much writing a bunch of things in a file, just words and numbers. Let me see. How can I increase the size of this? It's much better. I can't see anything there. And then the computer is gonna understand these words and is gonna perform calculations based on the words you write. And each programming language has a special syntax that actually means something to the computer, and then other keywords don't mean anything. So for example, in Python, if you write lambda, it's gonna treat that keyword with a special meaning. And if you write cat, then it doesn't know what a cat is. And same thing on JavaScript and any other programming language. And then I'm going to explain more about this on the next video. But the reason why I wanted to do this video is to show you what are the main keywords for Python and JavaScript that actually mean something. I didn't write all of the keywords here because there's a lot to explain still. So I'm going to talk about other stuff. So, but these are the keywords that, some of the keywords that are used 80% of the time in Python and JavaScript. And I also wanted to talk about the general concepts here, because when you're starting to learn something, you don't know what you don't know. So these keywords are going to help you understand stuff that you're not aware of yet, and they are more advanced concepts. So I would suggest that you write them down and then you search for them on your own time. I'm probably going to make videos about them in the future. But yeah. So the one that I want to talk about here is software design, because it was something that I was struggling in the beginning. I'm also going to talk about some other ones, but yeah, software design is pretty much as you start typing a bunch of code, then you can't put everything. Yeah, maybe here I could do some animation. So as I talk about this stuff, I show the links between like a graph with representing the links of each file. Maybe I'll use the same names as the files here. So maybe that's what I should do. So maybe I'll try to do that. I'm gonna have to watch videos about it though. That's the thing that is also difficult, is that I don't understand how to do those, if I should search for something or not. But I'm probably gonna have to watch a bunch of videos to understand how it works. Or if I'm gonna be drawing and how difficult it's gonna be to draw a bunch of stuff. If I have to draw everything in the beginning to do the whole animation, it might not be worth it. So I think this is the correct video. Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna briefly how they changed the title of this as well. The beginning is always the most annoying as well, because it's just the basic stuff that is not related to what you're trying to do. Oh. Okay. Oh, but I don't have rename here. Maybe save as. Exports. Okay. How things work. So programming is pretty much writing a bunch of things in a file, letters, words, and numbers. And then the computer is gonna understand these words and is gonna perform calculations based on the words you write. And each programming language has a special syntax that actually means something to the computer, and then other keywords don't mean anything. So for example, in Python, if you write lambda, it's gonna treat that keyword, and then I'm gonna explain more about that actually means something. I didn't write all of the keywords here because there's a lot to explain still. So I'm gonna talk about other stuff. So, but these are the keywords that, some of the keywords that are used 80% of the time in Python and JavaScript. And I also wanted to talk about the general concepts here, because when you're starting to learn something, you don't know what you don't know. So these keywords are gonna help you understand stuff that you're not aware of yet, and they are more advanced concepts. So I would suggest that you write them down and then you search for them on your own time. I'm probably gonna make videos about them in the future. But yeah. So the one that I want to talk about here is software design. because it was something that I was struggling in the beginning. I'm also going to talk about some other ones, but yeah, software design is pretty much as you start typing a bunch of code, then you can't put everything in one file because it becomes too big. So what happens is you're gonna have to split the code between files. And then in every programming language, yeah, now I'm gonna watch the videos. I'm debating whether or not it's gonna be worth it to put this animation because it might make it more confusing. Because I haven't explained anything about import and export system. It's kind of hard for me to remember when I started out if I was gonna understand something like this without explaining the keywords, because now it just feels natural to me. But I remember when I was starting, it was one of the most, not difficult, but confusing things in the beginning of how is all this code connected. Because the issue, yeah, I think the issue is that if you're starting out, you don't understand all this stuff in the hardware and the data structure and all of those things. And that's why it is hard to think about it. Because in your mind, is two separated things. And then because you can see all the path between the file and what is happening on the hardware, then it's much harder to understand the connection between everything. So if you're thinking about different files, because you're just writing letters and then things are happening, right? But I think somewhat addressed this. Yeah, but then I'm gonna address this on the next video. So at this point, I'm not gonna have talked about anything like that. So maybe animation is gonna help somewhat for people to understand, because they don't need to know exactly everything how it works. They just have to understand that the code, the letters are connected, the text is connected from all the files. Yeah, not sure if I made a good job of explaining that in this video here. It's very difficult though. It's difficult to find the nice in the middle spot where you're talking about, you're explaining as much as possible but not getting too complicated, because obviously when you start explaining, it starts branching off into different trees and it gets more and more complex. So if I deviate too much, then I'm gonna travel from one concept to the other one too much, and it's gonna deviate from the focus of the direction of the learning thing, the teaching process that I'm trying to do. So it's difficult to decide when to branch off and when to come back to the main thing, because everything is connected and there's too much stuff to talk about.
My name is Casey Ferris. I make videos on DaVinci Resolve here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe for more of that. Hey, make sure to subscribe for more of that. I see you just trying to lurk. Hit the button. All right? Anyways, have you ever wanted to point something out? Just like that? Well, here's how to make an animated arrow inside of Resolve and track it. Start the tutorial. All right, so here we have a clip of, you can see what the clip's about. Look, it's this clip. You see? I don't have to explain it to you. Let's say we want this lady to be like, oh man, you know what I like is my motorcycle. And then we want an arrow to point to the motorcycle and be like, see this motorcycle. Just for anybody who isn't paying attention and can't focus on two subjects. Whatever reason you want to add an arrow, this is the same workflow. While I'm over this clip in the timeline here in the edit page, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the Fusion page. That's going to bring it magically into Fusion. And we have the clip we can work with. First thing let's do is build an arrow. You do this all kinds of ways. Here's a way. I'm going to grab a background node from our toolbar up here, and let's make it green, because I just feel like arrows need to be green. I don't know. Hit one on the keyboard to bring that up here. See, told you it was green. And now let's add a mask. Grab a rectangle mask and connect it to my background. And now it makes this little rectangle thing.
Actually, I'm about an hour in, so I think I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna go eat something while I watch these videos. Then when I come back, I'm gonna work on the animation. And I'm probably gonna have to watch more videos, even after watching all these videos here, probably. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do next. Let me think. Yeah, because this is the second video I'm gonna have. I'm gonna have to spend time. maybe it would be helpful to create a structure of animations. Like instead of trying to learn how to do the animation for this specific thing, I use this video to learn the general animation format, and then I can use the same format in each video. It's probably better. It's probably what everyone else does to minimize the energy. So I just have to learn one type of animation, and then I can use that to explain things on all the other ones. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to watch a bunch of videos to understand what kind of animation people usually do, what's possible to do it. So I'm gonna take a break, go eat something and watch these videos, and then when I come back I'm gonna focus on this as well and continue to